Bitcoin is witnessing a monthly liquidity sweep, and our SPX trade has tapped our entry twice. Our pump trade has reacted exactly from our key levels, and I also have a new trade in mind today that looks very, very interesting. The market is at a decision point, guys. Higher time frame structure is testing support. Lower time frames are actually flipping bullish, and volatility is loading. If this plays out the way I'm seeing it, the next move could come very fast. Now, if you're getting value from these trades and real-time breakdowns, smash the like button and subscribe. All trades are shared inside the free Telegram. You can literally copy all of the setups for yourself. Profit Precision offers 30 days of free access for your trade management structure. So if you want to follow along, all of the links are in the description. This is Bitcoin on Point. Let's dive into the content. Now, we're going to analyze the macro for today because Venezuela's next leader just proposed selling oil for Bitcoin and building a massive BTC reserve. So first we had El Salvador, now we've got Venezuela. This isn't a retail story anymore. This is a sovereign strategy. If oil producing nations start pricing energy in Bitcoin, that changes everything. The Bitcoin's arm race is not a meme anymore. It's geopolitical. Now, President Trump has just announced the crypto market structure bill is coming soon. Guys, regulatory clarity, the institutional green light. When structure laws pass, capital is what follows. So tighten your seatbelts. Now, $110 billion banking giant BBVA is launching Bitcoin buying and selling across Europe. That's 77 million customers. Let that sink in. That isn't adoption. That's a distribution at scale. So when we look at the alignment, we have the nation state accumulation narrative, US regulatory clarity incoming, and major European banks onboarding millions. All whilst Bitcoin is sitting at higher time frame key structural support. So this is how cycles transition from skepticism to institutional integration to sovereign competition. Volatility is not random, it's building. Now let's see what the charts are telling us, and we're going to start with Bitcoin on the monthly time frame. And we've studied before that Bitcoin has been building this higher high, higher low structure for some time, and we tapped out the 126k all-time high, and we've pulled back to the previous higher low of April 2025. Now that low sits at 73k. So why we discuss the liquidity sweep is because Bitcoin in February is actually pushing or sweeping below this prior higher low structure. Now within doing so, there is this major demand block below, or liquidity pocket, that sits between roughly 60 to sort of 55k. And this is the exact liquidity sweep that we're seeing. So what we've seen is the higher high, and now we're getting the retracement back down into the higher low territories. Yes, we've swept the first higher low, which was on the formation here, right? Sorry, the second higher low. We swept that 73k low, which is where we're getting the sweep. And right now we're actually testing the first higher low formation that we witnessed, and this was back in 2024. So we're doing something like this. We had 3 higher highs, we had 2 higher lows, we've swept the first higher low on the chart, which is the 73k low from April, and now we've retested the first higher low, which was actually formed back in August of 2024. So if we do see a close below 74k, then somewhere between 60 to 55k within the liquidity sweep may provide a massive opportunity, because it's where demand has stepped in before, and that could change the structure. That could mark a shift, right, back into the bull's hand. So it's all about watching the reaction back down and during this liquidity sweep below the lows from April 2025. And again, that 60 to 55k is a major demand area. Now, taking this over into the weekly, we had a previous trend line that was being respected as support for Bitcoin. And again, this goes back to 2023, right? And we had a point of contact in August of 2024 during a major correction, before then leading on to new euphoric all-time highs. Now, since that low in August of 2024 and placing this all-time high, we did come down and initially lose this ascending support trend line, right? We lost the trend line. And this is what's brought us back down into this order block on the weekly from the formational correction back in 2024. So yes, we've lost the trend line, but we're coming back into the order block, which was a previous area in the past where bulls stepped in and defended their territory, right? So if we do see a clean reaction in the coming weeks inside this order block, this is where we could build some sort of foundation before pushing back to major levels of resistance above that we fell from, i.e. the 97K highs from back in January of 2026. Right, this is where we was forming that sort of rising channel formation and we lost support. So if we can hold the order block roughly in 60K, then that's where we could see a shift, right, and initially start reversing the trend. However, if we do lose the first order block in this green zone and things get really ugly, and this isn't the end of the correction, right, we may see some relief here, but if it's not the end of the correction, there is a deeper liquidity pocket below and a stronger order block waiting roughly at 40K. So this is how critical it is for Bitcoin right now. Bulls have defended before in 2024. Could they do the same again? And this is why it's the key area of interest we need to monitor here. Now, taking this information into the daily. Remember, we have the weekly order block at 60K. We've been studying and analyzing this for so long now, and Bitcoin has been defending it since we actually entered into this low territory in early February. And since this structure and since tapping down into this order block, what Bitcoin has done is created a key level of resistance at 72K. This is the level we've spoke about so many times on the channel, right? In fact, since February began, because we created that resistance point, and since then we have this descending level of resistance and also a bullish order block, which is where we're seeing a reaction from today or in the last couple of days. So we had a bullish OB at 67K. We've seen some sort of consolidation period for the last sort of couple of weeks. We're just range bound. And right now we are looking for a reaction back up to this descending level of resistance, right? Which roughly sits at 69K. So if Bitcoin can respect the bullish order block at 67, break 69K in this descending level of resistance, this is when 72K becomes the major level that we need to actually reclaim and a possibility of actually retracing towards it from this reaction. Now, if Bitcoin does break through 72K, the main level to actually see a market structure shift does sit roughly at 79K. So clearing 72 is the first objective. 79 is then the level we need to watch for the structure shift that we're analyzing for a reaction in this liquidity sweep on the monthly and then coming back to the order block on the weekly. So Bitcoin tells a telling story right now. We're going from the monthly to the weekly into the daily, and the picture is clear. We're in a liquidity sweep back down to a higher low from 2024. If 60K and the order block is defended on the weekly, fantastic. We have lower order blocks below at 40K if that is lost. But the daily is signaling since the start of February that we are building, there's volatility building, and momentum is reacting off of this bullish order block, which is signaling a potential rally up towards 72K if we can sustain momentum. So it's all about building the foundation and maintaining this weekly bullish order block that we have above 60K. That's how critical it is here, right, for Bitcoin. Now, with that being said, before we dive into our trades and our challenges, right, where we have another idea that we're actually looking at today, let's look at our dashboard because we have 6 total trades, 5 wins, 1 loss. The account is up $698, which is nearly 7%. We have an 83% win rate, which I'm pretty comfortable with in all honesty. Again, our last trade was a loss of $110 on Aave. It happens, but there is new opportunities on the horizon. The Telegram is for all the execution, so make sure you're checking it out and head over there. We have all of the setups, the entries, the stop loss, the TPs, everything, guys. The leverage, the risk. You're missing out if you're not involved. The links are in the description. Now let's move on to the trade setups themselves, and we're going to look at SPX, which is actually tapped into our re-entry zone twice. We had our first entry and execution back down at 31 cents. We then rallied up to TP1, secured 50% of profits, which was I think about $130, roughly around that. We then saw or said that, you know, if we come back down and we get a re-entry at break even, that's okay. But if we saw strength, we would re-enter. And now we have that position active again, looking to ride back up to TP1 and TP2. So we've already secured profits. We have the re-entry, and at minimum, we're protecting our capital. We're already securing profits, and we're letting this one run, right? Now heading over to pump, because this trade played out perfectly. We executed it and the levels we were looking for right on time, in fact. I studied in the past, in the last couple of updates, we had an A, B, C correction, which allowed us to secure our entry. It looked a bit fearful, but we did respect this ascending trend line. So you see, pump's been respecting this level of support. That aided in our reaction. And right now, we're in the trade, we're riding it, and we're looking for TP1 at 0.022 and TP2 at 0.0025. Right, so we've had the ABC, we got the execution and the entry. Now we're letting the trade run. So that's 2 active trades we are positioned in that are going really well. And we also have our new interesting setup. This is ADA on the 4-hour time frame. And what we're looking at here is a daily fair value gap, which is providing us with a possible entry point, right? We have a key level at 27 cents. Our entry is around the same sort of territory. We do have this recent rally where we ran into resistance, and we're now looking for the dip back down into the fair value gap to look for our entry, right? So if I zoom out and actually look at the daily very quickly for ADA here, again, this makes the setup a little bit more clear. We had the breakout, we've retraced back to the fair value gap, we've had a second lower high. Now we're looking for the retracement back into key levels so we can get our entry. So if that all works out well, we are positioned, we are waiting. If the execution comes, we're going to position and enter into this trade, and we have key targets at 31 cents in our TP zone. So we're waiting for the setup. The execution is simply on the table. If it comes into our hands, great, we will ride the trade. So everything on the channel is going very well, right? Let's summarize. Bitcoin is at a monthly liquidity sweep territory, back down at the higher lows from August of 2024. Defend them, we could see a structure shift from 60K. Failing that, we have an order block below at 40K. If things get really ugly, the daily time frame is showing volatility and compression on a bullish order block. 72K is the short-term target if we break resistance. Our trade on SPX has had 2 re-entries and successful TP1 take profit. Pump is running and riding from perfect execution, and ADA is waiting for the execution to occur. I hope you've enjoyed all of today's content. Telegram is in the description. Profits Precision is also there for you for that 30-day access. Make sure you check it out, and I'll see you in the next update.